at times, some people question why stress a cactus and not just fertilize it so that it has the best growth possible. The enzymes in the biosynthesis of mescaline and other alkaloids and secondary metabolites are done through a series of enzymes that are upregulated and downregulated based on their growing conditions. A very healthy cactus will indeed still produce alkaloids, and it will produce other secondary metabolites even without stress. But a stressed cactus, as a mechanism of the hormones changing in the cactus, will upregulate many of the enzymes that are necessary in biosynthesis of those alkaloids. So a stressed cactus doesn't necessarily need to be mutilated or some other extreme stress. You can fertilize your cactus and it can still be stressed via excessive heat, excessive light, and drought is the most studied of these stresses. So with drought, it's the main, or most likely the main stressor that increases the mescaline content in our cacti. But again, stress can be in many forms. Darkness is a stressor, cold is a stress, but with specifically mescaline biosynthesis, dark stress doesn't make much sense. Again, I could be wrong. There are very likely multiple pathways in the biosynthesis of mescaline. But in relation to a stressed versus unstressed cactus, a stressed cactus, given a certain time frame, will have more alkaloids than a non-stressed cactus. The non-stressed cactus, after a certain period, will accumulate more biomass, and even with a lower concentration, after a certain point in time, the amount of biomass it accumulated will surpass the amount of alkaloids accumulated in the stressed cactus. So at first, these two may be on par with the amount of content in each of them, but over a bit longer of a time period, this will accumulate more biomass. So even at, let's say, 0.5% concentration here, the amount of biomass will surpass the alkaloids in total content versus this one, which you may have 1 or 2% alkaloids. But since it's not increasing in biomass, at a certain point, this one will surpass it. I created 2 graphs to better illustrate this idea, and I think it makes enough sense, but if you have any questions, just ask. This is just my take on it, but many scientific papers have researched this, and a stressed cactus, or stressed plant in general, will have more alkaloids, but a greenhouse or a well-fertilized plant, by sheer biomass, will surpass the stressed cactus or plant at a certain threshold. Now, one more thing to know is certain stressors or certain alkaloids only appear in certain plants based on the actual stress it's been induced in. There are some plants that have an alkaloid when it's not stressed, and when it's stressed, it seems to be not producing that same alkaloid anymore, or it increases its biosynthesis and doesn't stop at a certain point, or it reduces it and maintains a certain alkaloid ratio in relation to the other alkaloids. So a drought-stressed plant may have a different proportion to the same stressed plant, but in different ratios in relation to how it's grown.